Good afternoon, Club 17. We've got a great program today. Very glad that you're here and glad for all those who are joining us on Zoom as well. So we're going to start with the national anthem, and we have a video if we face the flag.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And now Nancy Reese is going to lead us in our invocation and four-way test.
Thank you, President Brett. Please join me in prayer. Abba, Father, thank you for this beautiful season of fall, for the warm, sunny days, the cool, crisp evenings, the spectacular panorama of colors the trees are providing to us, and the bounty of harvest. May the harvest from the fields remind us of the abundance you continually give us and encourage us to share with others. As we are wowed by the beauty around us, please guide us to realize each one of us is unique, just as every leaf is on each tree. And it requires each of us to contribute to the peace in our world, just as it takes each and every leaf to create the amazing colors that we are privileged to see each fall. May the cooler temperatures help us to be mindful of those who need food and shelter for themselves and their families, especially at this unique time in our world. God of all seasons, as you transform the earth, energize us daily to live our Rotary motto of service above self. Inspire us to share more generously, let go of what we no longer need, take time to reflect on and appreciate the diversity of our world and all who live in it, and to love each other more deeply. Amen. Please join me also in the four-way test and the things as we think, say, and do as Rotarians. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
That's good. That was preemptive. Yeah. So we'll start with a few announcements. And just a reminder, when you finish eating, if you'd put your mask back on, we're trying to follow all the right safety and health protocols. And we do have a number of birthdays today. And we'll go by day of the month here. So, October 6th, Charles Fellows and Brian Miller. October 7th, Jeff Long. Today, our very own Nancy Reese, and Jerry Ernst and Mike Leahy. October 9th, Brad Drayton. October 11th, Jeff Betts. October 12th, Patty Horwitz, Bren Ryan, and John Kelly. Let's wish them all a very happy birthday. And we've done a number of projects already this year, and we've had a number of other committees working as well as service committees. Just a reminder, it would be great if every club member would sign up for at least one committee. And if you look at your E-raise, you'll see that there's a link. You can click on that, look at the committees, choose the one that you feel is a good fit. And some of the scheduling of committees, of course, due to COVID-19, some of the activities have been delayed or paused. But if you sign up for the committee that you're interested in, then you can contact the committee chair who's listed, and they'll let you know exactly what the schedule is for this year. And speaking of service, starting fairly soon, we've got a Rotary Club blood drive that we're going to do in conjunction with Hawksworth Blood Centers. This will be from October 19th to 23rd. And as you know, there's a big need for blood donations here in our Cincinnati community. It's actually a national need, and it's due to COVID-19. The supplies are much lower than they should be. So please consider donating blood. There are 7 centers around the Cincinnati area. If you go to E-raise, you'll see all 7 listed. Click on any one of them. It tells you the hours they're open and the phone number. Call and make it an appointment to go. It's an easy thing to do and very, very helpful. And when you do go, and you'll see this in E-raise, mention that you're from Cincinnati Rotary Club. We've got a code, CRT, that Hawksworth is using, so we'll be able to see as a club what we've done together to help the community. And we're going to have a Veterans Day tribute in November. And this is something that our club usually does to honor any of our club members who are veterans of military service. If you're a military veteran and you've joined this club in the past 3 years, please email your military branch, years of service, and a photo to Christy in the Rotary office. She'd probably say your rank as well, if you would. And thank you for your service. And we had a member today, different topic, speaking of health, brought in a number of good RX cards. They're on the table in the lobby. If you'd like to just grab one and use it, you'll find typically you get a nice discount on a number of medications. That was a nice thing for that member to do. And members in the news, please keep Rotarian Ronat's wife, Lynn, in your thoughts and prayers. She's now out of intensive care, but will remain at the hospital for a few more days for testing, and then she'll likely go to rehab and to regain strength before she goes home. And also keep Bob Croskery in your thoughts and prayers. Bob is recovering from a number of surgeries. He's at Christ Hospital. So feel free to reach out to him too. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And next week, we have a special program we do every year. It's Sheriff Recognition Day. Looking forward to that. That'll be a great program. And now, let's get to the business of today. We've got a great speaker here. We're really glad to have Britney Ruby Miller, the CEO of Jeff Ruby Culinary Entertainment. And Britney has grown up in the restaurant business, no surprise. The Jeff Ruby restaurants were founded in 1981. She grew up in the business and basically served in every role, from the kitchen to hostess to server, and then in 2011 was moved to the corporate office into management positions and has grown since then and has been CEO for the past 3 years of a growing business. And a very well-known business. So I know a number of us have been customers and have really enjoyed it. There were 4 restaurants, but as Britney has worked in the organization and led it, it now is up to 7 restaurants in various areas around the tri-state and down as far as Nashville, Tennessee. And one of her proudest accomplishments as leader in that organization is establishing a team of 38 experts in different respective departments, and a large percentage of those experts and leaders are women. So you've probably seen this in advertisements, but Ruby's restaurants have earned national acclaim. Just to list some of the areas they've been recognized: Travel and Leisure, Best Steakhouses in the U.S., 100 Best Restaurants Worth Splurging On, Food Network's Top 50 Steakhouses in America, and listed in USA Today as one of the top 10 steakhouses in the country. So while all of that is very impressive, and it is, what Britney is especially proud of is work that the Jeff Ruby Foundation has been doing to help the lives of children. And she co-founded that foundation and is a board member. She's helped to spearhead an initiative to eradicate childhood poverty, and doing that first and foremost through working on a very challenged foster care system. Good progress has been made identifying organizations that are really having an impact in that area, and there's been a lot of good networking with legislators, governors, and U.S. senators across several states to really reinforce and support that effort. So Britney lives in Cincinnati with her husband Caleb and 4 children, I think in ages from 3 to 15, if I remember right. And she's one busy person, that's for sure. So we're very glad, Britney, to have you at Rotary today. Thank you so much for coming to share with us.
That intro. That's a new bio. I want that one. Come up with that. Hello, everybody. Hi. There's some of you don't have your masks on. It's hard to speak when there's a lot of masks because you really don't know how to read the room. So if I say something that's decent, just feel free to give me a thumbs up here. When Doug asked me to speak, it was over the lockdown. And I knew the timing wasn't right, but that I always wanted to come and speak to this group. My father spoke to you all. I heard he was very colorful and brought his best friend, Jack Daniels, to the party. I'm a little more reserved, but hopefully give something entertaining to you. But I knew it wasn't the right time because I needed to stay laser focused on our company at a time where the government shut us down. And so Doug asked, I think, 2 more times after that. And I said, okay, I will come, but I am going to, full disclaimer, I typically put a ton of time into my speaking engagements. And this one, you've had maybe 5 minutes of prepping. So you're going to get off the cuff Britney. And I still have the Ruby blood in me, so sometimes that's good or bad. So fortunately or unfortunately for all of you, here I am. So I tell you, I thought about what to speak. I've been thinking about it actually for about a week. And I think right now, if we can still, I think we're probably tired of talking about COVID-19. But what our company and what I've personally experienced through this process has been somewhat of a silver lining. And I asked our company, I asked our leadership team to be thinking about during this time right now when we're in the birth pangs, what are the top 10 things that we have learned through this? I think if we ask ourselves that in a year, we're not going to feel this sense of deep kind of emotion and the raw, authentic feeling of what it is. And so we went through this process internally, and it was one of the most cathartic exercises our team's ever done. I encourage others to do it as well. So it's been something that is now going to build our strategy for the next 5 years. And so I thought I would just share what my top 10 are. Is that okay? Good? So it's on my phone here. First, before I start though, raise your hand if you have ever, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, an owner, as an employee of a company, been forced to shut down your entire business, your entire revenue stream, ever. And for us, it was 3 months. So just, I'm curious, is anybody in restaurants or, so we have 1, 2, 3. So you all know that pain. I remember we went through strategic planning 6 months before COVID hit, and in that plan, it was a SWOT analysis. It's what are the threats, and start planning for what's the worst case scenario. None of us would have ever predicted that there would be a time that we had to shut our doors, furlough 624 employees, and wonder what was going to happen to our company. Which is why I wanted to stay laser focused. So I promised him I would try to give something good. So here are my top 10 things that have been life-changing for me. The first one is to be still, yes, during chaos, was to be still and know that I'm God. And even if you're agnostic, I think there's still some amazing beauty to just being still when there is chaos happening. And I had a peace that came over me from about a week. I grieved, really, what is happening and how do we do this, and sad for losing majority of our employees, furloughing them. But then there was a peace that came over me to be able to think clearly. And so being still in the chaos, being a level 5 leader, I'm sure you're aware of James Collins, a good to great, that type of leadership. One of my board members said, you got to continue to whistle while you walk down the halls. You got to continue to whistle and exude this peace. For me, and even I've had anxiety in the past, but this has been a peace that I just can't understand and can't truly explain. And that moment truly that came to me was Mayor Cranley gave me an opportunity to give a press conference when we shut down. And I spoke on behalf of all the restaurants. We formed a strong restaurant community throughout this process where I call all of my friendly competitors my friends now. And so I spoke on behalf of them, and I mentioned in that press conference that we advocated for carryout. I'm on Governor DeWine's restaurant advisory board on his task force, helped draft what reopening restaurants in Ohio looks like. And we were able to advocate for carryout. But I said the truth is carryout will never carry a restaurant. It'd be like asking Kroger to only do pick up your groceries. You still need people to come inside to keep the business running and afloat. And so I asked that the community would support carryout. And that night was, ironically, I promise you it wasn't a plug for the precinct. We had carryout that night. And we completely backed up all of Columbia Parkway. It was gridlocked down to Walnut Hills and all through that kind of fork in the road, the Delta and Columbia Parkway. And the cops came and wanted to know what we were going to do about it. And our system crashed. So carry-out tickets, I don't know if you've worked in a restaurant, so you got chits that come through, and it just keeps coming. And our director of operations at the time, he's VP of operations now, I knew something was wrong when he said it's bad. So the support was so great, I think we had 500 chits on the line at the time, which is impossible to execute. So we had to time out, shut it down, and basically refund everybody at a time when we barely had the money at the restaurant to refund it anyways, to stop everything. And I gathered our team, and literally I'm out in the parking lot giving away toilet paper at the precinct, a fine dining, white tablecloth restaurant, and I'm just like, you get toilet paper, you get a toilet paper, and we're refunding all your money, and I'm so sorry, but we cannot execute this food in this way. At the time, we've got people back on the line, we're trying to figure out how to work socially distanced on a line, which is very difficult to do. And so we stopped everything at that night, at that end of that night, went into the main dining room, and I sat down with our team, And we decided to call a timeout. For 3 weeks, we did nothing. And we still kept about 40 people on the payroll company-wide. And so for 3-4 weeks, we had zero revenue coming in. And it was a cash burn just continually every day. And we also had no idea if the government was ever going to come through with the PPP. So we took a huge risk. We waited. The fruits of waiting during that time and being still birthed the meal kits that we're doing now that carried payroll basically for the following month. The amount of brain capacity our corporate chef had, our president had, to not feel that pressure of hurry, hurry, hurry. And we have a revenue stream right now that will probably keep forever that carried us through being shut down. So being still, the other thing, obviously, this isn't a surprise to anybody, cash is king. And I remember I'm part of YPO, and I went to a YPO event probably 3 months before this pandemic hit. And I remember Larry Shakely talking on a panel about how he looks at cash flow every single day. I mean, that's a lot. You're looking at the model every single day. And I went back to our finance team and said, I at least want to start looking at it weekly. And so we built a rolling cash flow model to be able to start really looking at this weekly and seeing where the funds were going at every moment. And having that prepared at a time like this, we were able to totally forecast and budget. We included healthcare. We provided healthcare to all of our furloughed employees. We predicted worst case scenarios, and we have a plan in place that will keep our company going for the next 10, 20 years, however long we want. And so I think for me, that's something that will never change, is I know how much money we need in our bank, and I know what our cash flow model needs to be able to keep the business sustainable. The third thing I learned during the shutdown is that you need to raise capital ASAP. And I learned how valuable it is to have amazing guests that we can rely on. And so we did a gift card campaign, and then we did what we call the JR Club. So it's a certain amount of money, gets you a certain, there's about a 30 to 40% return on the actual money that you invest. And we called every guest that we could. We did a huge promotion, and that carried us for another 2 months. So raising the capital very quickly, we pivoted very fast and put a couple of people on that, and it was something that was monumental for us. Fourth, which kind of ties into that, is leveraging all relationships. The first calls I made during the shutdown were to our landlords, to our vendors, to our very loyal guests. And we've talked about it in the past. Our company tries to, we don't try, part of our DNA is this is called the culture of caring for your employees, your community, and your guests. And to be honest, vendors weren't in there. And that is something I picked up the phone and called all of our longtime partners, Cisco's and our meat companies, and asked them for help. And all of them stepped up, which eventually was, essentially a line of credit on what we owed them, which was just tremendous. And those are businesses now that we'll be with for the next 10 to 20 years. The fifth thing I learned was to insert myself. And I told you I went through a grieving process, and then I said, just put me in, coach. It's kind of a prayer, which you prayed here. So I was like, oh, good, I get to talk about prayer. So I prayed, and I said, God, I'm ready. Use me in whatever way that you want to use me. And we, as Brett mentioned, have incredible relationships. I call them movers and shakers. They all like steak, bourbon, and wine. So I called those people that come to our restaurants and leveraged those relationships and inserted myself into the media and into leveraging those conversations with Congress, with senators. So from a lobbying standpoint, getting on the phone with the decision makers that helped draft what the PPP program looked like for restaurants, and we're still waiting for the second round to come, apparently after the election now. So having those calls and those relationships We spoke to Senator Brown many times, Mitch McConnell, Rubio, I could go on and on, Senator Johnson. Weekly, I was on calls with senators, lobbying for my industry, and working with the National Restaurant Association and the Ohio Restaurant Association. And I also picked up the phone to my friend Kathy Lee Gifford and asked her to please put me on the Today Show. And she called Hoda and said, look, this is a dire need. Restaurants make up 51% of the food supply chain in America. We're an $800 billion industry. 20% of the US workforce are restaurant people. You can't shut us down. Called Bill Hemmer, got on with Aaron Burnett, and made a national plea to anybody who would listen to please advocate and support restaurants. Number 6, I've talked about strategic planning. Have a worst case scenario business contingency plan. Like I said, I never would have thought it would be 90 days without revenue, but think about it. And when you plan on those threats and those external contributors that could wreck a business, think about what you can do outside of the 4 walls of the business, which leads me to 7, be scrappy. And we got real scrappy. And we thought of everything that you could possibly do, because the truth is, I'm not confident there won't be another shutdown. And that's, I'm not taking either side, but I know based on conversations I've had and when you see what's also happening in other parts of our country, that there are still states that are suffering from a shutdown. So what does that mean for us? It's any type of dining that happens outside the 4 walls. We're launching delivery soon. That's an inside scoop, so just for the Rotary Club. The meal kits, the grocery business, we've got 10 years of work of ideas we've had that we basically are executing in fourth quarter. Which is number 8, maximize every revenue stream that you can. One example for us, we have private dining managers, and there's not a lot of mass gatherings happening. There's not a lot of big groups that are coming in. And so those private dining managers turned into sales and relationship managers over the entire business, over their restaurant. And so where they were typically planning events of 50 or more, now they're making emotional connections and reaching out to anybody of a party of 6 or more. They're also working directly with our finance team on forecasting and assumptions and stretch goals. I never before looked at exactly how many reservations were coming in each day. We look at that now, and I know we have enough every month to break even. You got guests times the check average is this. They work on break even plus stretch goals. It's something that we never did before, knowing who's in our restaurants and being able to forecast in that way. The last 2, take time to celebrate. We celebrated with our GMs 2 nights ago and our corporate team. I'll take that back. We celebrated when we had 500 employees back. We're at about 500. We're not at 600. We got together and we celebrated as a team in a socially distanced way. It was a very creative way. And 2 nights ago, we were with our GMs, and we celebrated that we not only broke even for 1 month, that we actually made a profit. Doesn't that sound silly that we would ever celebrate that we made somewhat of a profit for a month? That's incredible, though, at a time. In 1 month, and then September, we actually made a profit again. It's unbelievable. And that's because we got really scrappy. And it's very important for us during that time that we don't dilute the brand. And so when you get scrappy, you don't start, we serve USDA Prime. You're not coming in and getting Choice or Select now. You're still getting Prime. There's different ways, though, that you think about what that means for your business. Also, staying healthy is really important for me. And so working out, drinking lots of water. And then there's 2 bonus that I learned through this, and it is how special Cincinnati, Ohio is. The support that we have gotten from our community here has been something that is just overwhelming. Cincinnati is a city unlike any other. And when we asked our It gets emotional, but I'm proud to be a Cincinnatian. And this is the other bonus was our team has never been stronger when you go through something like this. Our communication, our camaraderie, the way we just literally, we're in the corporate office with maybe 20 people, and the love that we have for one another at a time like this, where there is just so much trust, and what it's done for our restaurant team, supporting them with insurance as they were furloughed, that will pay dividends for our company for years and years and years. They said that during a pandemic, the fact that they still had insurance gave them peace of mind, and they were still able to carry on their lives. And so when we say the restaurant industry is one big family, it truly is. And I've never felt family in my life until COVID-19 hit. So those are my top 10. And also unrelated to my top 10, I want to thank you. As Brett mentioned, we have the Jeff Ruby Foundation. We're about to do a big gala in May. We do one event a year. And what you all are doing for your community on behalf of our foundation, thank you for that, because we truly believe that the systemic poverty cycle and it doesn't get any better during COVID, it gets worse. We had to stop everything we were doing because I need to keep the company afloat to be able to have that platform eventually to pick back up. And so boots on the ground right now still, I'm grateful for that because, like I said, it doesn't stop. And the foster care system for us, our goal is to find homes for foster kids. And so I'm excited that once we truly are back to normal, however long that's going to be, no one knows, quite some time, I think, I'm excited to pick that back up. So thank you all for what you do. So.
Britney can take some questions, and if anybody on Zoom would like to ask a question, you've got my cell. Just text me the question. Brittany, if you could repeat that.
Okay. Yes.
I really, more than anything, want to say thank you. The email that you sent, I was emotional on the 18th of March. After 3 days of me not sleeping, watching my businesses collapse, inspired me in a way I'll never be able to thank you enough. Your communication, your grace, your thoughts that you shared with your customers was so moving.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. What's your name? Brian. Brian, that means a lot. Thank you so much. Yes.
So talk to us about winter dining outside. Are there enough tents? Are there enough heaters?
Yeah. Right.
Not just Jeff Ruby's, but
Yeah.
citywide.
So, what was your name? John asked about outdoor dining during the winter for restaurants, and it's a huge challenge, which is why the restaurant community is advocating for the second round of PPP. We have how do I say this? PC. Okay, so there's a lot of narrative that indoor dining is not safe and outdoor is only, and this is a fact. Dr. Birx traveled from the White House to every governor in every hotspot and talked to every mayor as well and said, shut all indoor dining down and only have outdoor. Governor DeWine opted not to do that. He gave an 11 o'clock curfew instead. And I did not advocate for that, but I appreciate that we're not shut back down. And now Bashir did do that, 25% capacity. So it's a challenge because we have this information that's being told to the communities that indoors not safe. And so outdoor, there's a huge demand. And as we get into winter months, especially in Cincinnati where it's very cold, that's definitely a challenge and something that we are trying to prepare for. The good news is we have a mayor here who loves his restaurant community, and I was on a Zoom with him yesterday and with the chamber, and they are trying to support restaurants in whatever way they can with outdoor dining options, which is remarkable. It's not the same in every other market, I can tell you that. And so working with our city, They're moving quickly too. They know that there's a need for that. And so, you know, the one thing I'll say about indoor dining, and I love that you said you could have 10 at a table, because I helped draft what that looked like in Ohio at a large gathering. You have 4 here, and looks 6 feet to me, and I think that whether it's the Rotary Club or the Hilton did an amazing job on the way that this is laid out. Those are the things you don't really think about when you're at an event, but this looks amazing. And so I think what I would say, though, about indoor, there's questions, and you all feel safe indoor, but there are people that don't, and people who are very high risk that can't be out and about. And so I appreciate both tribes. I completely understand it. What I will say for the idea that indoors not safe, and you didn't ask me this, but you're going to get my opinion on it. I have managers who work 10, 11 hours a day in each of our restaurants, 6 days a week right now, that have not gotten COVID-19, around thousands of guests a month, thousands. And so when you look at data and you're being told that something is the way that they think that it is, I really, and I just got out of a stats class for my MBA, and so I'm really kind of, I know a lot about studies, and I question if the data, if these comments are going to be made, that they need to be backed up and they needed to be founded. So I will just say that, like, I'm not totally paranoid about being inside, which is why I'm here, but I do get people who only want to dine outside, and that will be a challenge in the winter, but I'm thankful to the city of Cincinnati and Mayor Cranley for trying to do all that they can right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's not, yeah, Wasserstrom's doing a bunch with that too. Trevor Weaver has a program for anybody who's interested, but the igloo thing, they have that on top of the Bobby in Nashville, and it's really cool. They're heated, and it came over. It's a European idea that has been working over there that now they're doing. And I think really the challenge for restaurant operators, that's capital, you know, that's CapEx. That takes a lot of money to be able to do those things. And so again, I think if the second round of PPP comes through, it's going to be some peace of mind for a lot of restaurant folks. Yep.
Got a question from the,
Okay.
I'm going to take the mic. Why not?
Go ahead.
Thank you. We don't have an extra mic, do we? No. So this is a question from Doug Bolton, who's watching on Zoom, and he's sorry that he couldn't be here in person today, but wants to thank you for speaking. Really appreciates it. So his question is, what good has COVID brought to your business? In other words, what positive long-term impact will COVID have on your business?
There's more that I could probably ever articulate. I'm short. I need to get this down to my height. I think the support from our community, I think the support that we have for our team, all of those top 10 items that I discussed will drive our 5-year plan. So we're going to go back through a strategic planning process in January, and all of the stuff that we thought was important before is not. So all of our top 10 learnings, I think, will continue to enhance. And I hate to say that COVID-19 is the best thing that happened for a restaurant group at a time like this, because every day is a challenge and you're fighting for your lives. But when the restaurant community is able to get through it, if they're able to get through it, 53% of all restaurants will fail by the end of the year. That's devastating. In Ohio, I think it's 50, they're saying 50%. But either way, you know, those who are able to stay strong, and communities that are still able to support carry out and gift cards and all the things we talked about, those businesses will be stronger than they ever have been. Yes. Yep. Right. So he asked, how has civil unrest in Louisville affected? And I will tell you, civil unrest has affected our restaurants more than COVID-19. And I am, and have been, my husband and I, very, very passionate about racial reconciliation for quite a long time. And so I see the peaceful protests, I see a need for that. And it's directly impacted our business. I also have been affected by the violence. And so really my thought on it is there's a time and a place for everything. It's been terrible for the business down there. That's our most impacted financially. They're still down 50% each month, which you can't operate a restaurant like that. You just can't. Our margins are thin enough. But I do think that healing is going to have to take place, and that will take quite some time. So, you know, it's sad. It's been devastating. That's been the hardest part of this entire thing. You know, when we opened back up in June, that's when George Floyd protests were going on. So the week that the restaurants opened in Cincinnati was the week that all the protests started happening. And, but again, I support as much as I can say. We just donated $25,000 from our foundation to Undivided. I support a multicultural church that I'm part of. I see a need for there to be more people who listen and more people who can understand the grieving process and the amount of anger and pain that's out there and exists right now. Questions? Yes?
Yeah, I had a question. So I think not all restaurants sort of suffer the same way with this sort of problem.
Right.
My local pizza joint is busier than they've ever
Yeah.
been. And I'm curious because, you know, coming to get a high-end steak that you take home in a styrofoam box is just not a lot of that experience, right? So have you, but I bet you guys can make pretty killer pizza. So have you kind of changed the menu and to try to force those kind of carry-out foods?
Well, the meal kits are really grocery style. So for $125 or maybe $150, it's a Ruby meal for four uncooked steaks that you cook with your family or, you know, grill out or whatever. And then it's mac and cheese, asparagus. All of it is take and bake, because I agree with you. Plus, I went to culinary school, and like the first thing I remember learning was carryover cooking of 5 to 10 degrees in a hot box, just even without it being in a to-go box. And so we call those hockey pucks by the time they get to the house. And they're not good, and so it's tricky. You gotta learn how to undercook a little bit and know that it's gonna continue to cook in styrofoam. So there's a science to it, but the meal kits that are here to stay are you cook that at home. The delivery, my marketing team's gonna kill me for talking about that right now, but it's okay. It'll happen by the end of the month. The delivery and the carry-out, yes, it is not the same experience whatsoever. Part of the reasons why we are giving such a, you know, it's still $125, but at a time like this, it's more value driven than if you come in the restaurants, is you're not getting the chandeliers and the people and the emotional connection. Part of our core beliefs is, you know, we really want people to walk out. We are expensive. We have very expensive product and very expensive restaurants. They don't come out of a box. My dad personally designs and handpicks every single asset that you would see in a restaurant. He's heavily involved in all of that. So it costs a lot of money to build our restaurants. We opened 3 in the past 4 years. Not to mention our cash flow. We didn't even talk about the banking side of it. That's important. So we have this existing debt out there. So we charge what we charge, but we want everybody coming out saying that was the best money I've ever spent. You know, if you want to go to a casino and spend $100, did you have fun? Was it your entertainment? Did somebody make an emotional connection with you? Did somebody make you feel special? You know, do we do all of those other little things? And you don't get that when you're at your house, but it still gives people an opportunity to make emotional connections with their families at home. Does that answer kind of, but yeah. Yes. Man, I'm going to give you another little thing. So we're about to start doing that. Yes, at the end of the month, you should be able to. Yes. We're going to deliver 15 minutes from each restaurant. I'm sorry. But we can eventually ship through a different portal that we're going to be launching here soon. So it'll be overnighted. Yes. Two, I eat a Caesar salad every single day in my office. I love our Caesar salad and our ribeye. I love our ribeye. But I'm pretty good. I can't sit down and eat a ribeye every single day, so I'm good about a couple of ounces here and there. But the ribeye is by far, hands down, my favorite. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I said 20% of the US workforce are restaurant people, it's actually 10%. The additional 10% are the ancillary businesses that support restaurants. So when restaurants are failing, farmers suffer. There's nowhere for the food to go. Food goes bad. And so when you cut 51% of the food supply chain out and then you're only left with restaurants, it was terrible. And so that's why I will continue to fight that restaurants, even at 50%, they can stay afloat and viable. But if you shut restaurants down again, I truly believe there will be a massive food crisis. For now, I think it's enough to get by. Is that doom and gloom? Oh my God. Thank you. I feel like I need to end on something good. That was super sad. Back to what the good is, I just want to say this. We're going to get through this. I think that God uses all things for the good. I have seen so much good come out of this. I'm excited for when we do get out of it. And I remember just the last little piece that really helped me through this process was every business person that I talked to during the shutdown said 2008, the housing crash, all of that made them the best CEO and made their businesses stronger than ever. When we get through it, because we will, we know this too shall pass. I'm like, I can't wait for Christmas. I started lighting Christmas candles in March because I wanted my house to smell like Christmas. Like every day we're closer to victory. We got to get through 2020. It's going to be an amazing New Year's Eve, whatever people decide to do. 2021 eventually is going to start to bounce back, and our businesses and our economy eventually will. So is that a pep talk? Got my rah-rah cheerleading going? Good.
Brittany, that was a great talk, and from the heart, and from real deep personal experience, and painful and tough experience. And I think even though most of us are not in that line of business, we certainly can relate to the kind of disruption. But restaurant industry is really tough and takes a lot of leadership. You taught us a lot about leadership in your talk and your answers to the questions. You taught us a lot about guts and persistence, and those are lessons that we all need. So we just thank you so much as a club for coming. And you know a bit about Rotary, and one of the things that we have as a worldwide goal is to fight disease. And we've got a campaign that's been going on worldwide for about 40 years now to end polio. We're very close to eradicating polio worldwide. And in honor of you speaking today and our appreciation, we're going to make a donation to Rotary International's End Polio Now campaign. So thank you. And you touched not just on the business, but you also talked about your foundation, the Jeff Ruby Foundation. And we are very interested as a Rotary Club in opening opportunities for people to improve their lives. And that's actually our motto for this Rotary year worldwide is Rotary opens opportunities. You've been opening opportunities and keeping opportunities open for the people who work for you, which benefits their families and many others. You also have been opening opportunities through the work of your foundation in terms of the lives of young children and making sure they get a home that they can grow up in, a stable home. So we'd like to give you a Rotary pin, which is the pin for Rotary Opens Opportunities, to commemorate what you're doing. So just a reminder, next week we have Sheriff Recognition Day, a great program. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I want to thank everybody who is on Zoom who joined us today. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Meeting adjourned.